Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Piyush. This is day 25 in 30 days of AWS Terraform, and in this video we'll be looking into Terraform import and we'll be doing a demo of how do we do that import using different methods that we have. We'll be focusing on all these different methods that are available for us to import the resources in Terraform. Don't worry, I'll explain what Terraform import is and what do we actually mean by import and all the different methods that we have. So let's dive into the video. But before that, make sure you have subscribed to the channel if you have found my content valuable and helpful. If you subscribe, it helps me grow the channel more. It helps me bring more valuable content, more useful playlists like this, like CK, like Azure DevOps, and many more in the future. And I just need your support for that. Okay. So if you are supporting, thank you so much. If you are not supporting, that's okay too. I'll still be producing content. Okay. So let's dive into this video. So this is what we're gonna do, but let's try to understand this process of Terraform migration, resource migration, what exactly it is and when do we actually do it. Okay. So as you can see, it says Terraform resource migration, and we have three different methods that we can use. First is Terraform import, which is supported natively by Terraform. That means this is the recommended method. Although it needs some manual work, although it needs some extra effort, still it is the recommended method. Then we have two open source CLI tools. One is Terraformer, another one is AWS 2TF. So what it does is, first let me explain what is Terraform import. With Terraform import, you actually import the resources. In the next diagram, I will explain it to you. You actually, let's say you have some resources created over here, right? So let's say you have VPC, you have S3 buckets, you have EC2 instances, you have some RDS database and many more, right? So you have these resources created in AWS. Okay. Now, when you created these resources, you created it manually. Okay. Maybe they were part of some legacy application, or they were created when your team was not using Terraform. Now you want to use Terraform, or it's been enforced on your team that yes, we'll be going down to AWS infrastructure as a code route, and this is what you need to do now from now onwards. So you've been tasked to migrate these resources to Terraform so that it will be further managed by Terraform. Okay, so what will happen if you run the Terraform commands right now? It will try to create the resource again. And if you are using the same name and same details, like same VPC CIDR or like the same underlying detail, it will fail with the error resource already exists. So to avoid this error, first you need to import these resources in Terraform. So you have this file called tfstate. Tfstate, if you remember. So tfstate, if you remember the file, this is very important file and kind of the brain of Terraform when you are working with infrastructure as a code. So in this file, what we store the actual state of the infrastructure, right? So we have seen this like in earlier videos of this series, and how it works is, let's say you have your Terraform files over here, right? Terraform files, .tf and so on. So when you run Terraform, your Terraform client, or like wherever you have installed Terraform, it will check your tfstate file, and then it will make sure that your desired infrastructure is equal to the actual infrastructure. Okay, so this Terraform files will have the desired infrastructure, and this tfstate file will have the actual infrastructure. So instead of comparing your desired with the actual infrastructure into the cloud, so if we gonna do that, it has to make API calls every single time, plus it will be time consuming process. So to avoid everything, it checks the infrastructure status from the tfstate file. That means it don't have to go to like go and check all the resources in the cloud. It can just get the details from the tf state file, which is a JSON file. Now, if the resource is not created by Terraform, so there will be no details in TF state. Why would it be? It's not created by Terraform, right? So in that case, your TF state file will not have anything. And when you try to create a new Terraform file, and let's say you have created a S3 bucket name over here with the name ABC. Okay, just an example. Like, it's not a valid bucket name, just an example. So you have created S3 bucket manually with the name ABC. Okay. And when you try to create the same bucket with the same name using Terraform, okay, it will go and check in the TF state. It won't find the infrastructure because it's not there, right? It's not been created yet with the Terraform. So it will try to provision this ABC in the region that you have selected, right? And then it will find, oh, there is a bucket already exists with the same name. So it will throw the error that bucket already exists. Bucket already exists, right? But ideally, what should have happened, like in case of Terraform, if the bucket is already there with the same name, it should not make any changes, right? It will just say your infrastructure is up to date. That means your desired state is equal to the actual state, but we are not managing the infrastructure with the Terraform yet. So to do that, we are using this Terraform import, and to make sure that your infrastructure is managed by Terraform, we are doing Terraform import, and then you can manage the infrastructure with Terraform. So let's see this with the help of an example over here. Okay. So you have your Terraform installed over here locally or on your server, and then you start by writing your Terraform files. Okay. You did the authentication using AWS configure or OIDC or whatever method you have used. You did the authentication and authorization. So now you have access to provision the resources and to get the details of the resources that is already there. Now, these resources, let's say EC2 server, security group, VPC, these resources were created manually. Okay, you did not create it, it was created manually. So what you will do is you write the bare minimum Terraform files with just the mandatory fields, but you have to write all the resource blocks in that. I will explain it to you. I will show you that in the demo. And once you do that, and once you run Terraform plan, it will show that these resources have not been provisioned yet, right? So it will try to create those resources in the Terraform plan with the help of provider over here. Now, once you run Terraform import, okay, and then you have to provide the resource details along with it, then it will try to import the state of the resource like EC2 server, VPC, security group, subnet, whatever. It will try to import the state of those resources inside your TF state. Okay. Now it will know that yes, these are the resources that already exist, and these will be further managed by Terraform. So then you can run Terraform plan, and then you can run Terraform apply, whatever changes you need to make after that. Okay. If it is still confusing, I will explain it to you in the demo, then it will be crystal clear. Okay. Now, you see, as I've told you, there are three methods. First is Terraform import, which is what we have discussed and what we are looking the demo right after, like in 5 minutes. The other two methods are Terraformer and AWS 2TF. So these two are the open source CLI projects. So there is this one, AWS 2TF, which is managed by AWS. And so the usage is pretty straightforward, simple. You just go and clone the repo, do the pip install, right? And then start using the tool. The way you do that is, let's say if you want to generate Terraform files for all the VPCs in your account region, so you just go ahead and run this aws2tf.py-t VPC. So it will generate the It will go to your account, it will check all the VPCs that are present, it will generate the Terraform files for that, right? So remember I told you in the beginning that only this will need some manual work. You have to write some Terraform files um, with the basic configuration, but for these two you don't have to write the Terraform files. It will generate the Terraform files for you. Okay, so it will generate the file for VPC. Similarly for S3, for subnet, for EC2, you can just go ahead and generate the file. And like this, yeah, VPC, EFS, SageMaker, blah, 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 so on. Similarly, there is this tool called Terraformer, which was created by GCP and then they open sourced it. Now instructions are over here and it supports multiple clouds, as you can see. We are looking for AWS. So yes, AWS is one of the supported cloud. The way it works is, you run Terraform import command along with some arguments right over here. And it like this, okay? So Terraform import AWS hyphen resources, what all the resources that we need. You can also add filters. You can add additional parameters such as regions and so on. And it will generate the actually this yeah, so you see this is not Terraform import, this is Terraformer import, right, which is the utility. Okay, and yeah, it will help you generate the Terraform files and then you can just plan and apply the changes and that's it. Okay, the instructions to install this is you have brew package for Mac, you have chocolatey package for Windows, and yeah, you have binaries installation as well. So there are multiple ways you can install, or you can just download the binary as well and start using it. Okay, so that's another way. But I mean, even though these two methods like AWS to TF and Terraformer, these two are there, which helps you generate the Terraform configuration. But even then, this Terraform import is recommended method. Why? Because first, it is supported by Terraform, obviously, and then like these two are open source project, right? So there'll be some bugs, there'll be some issues, plus all the resources in a cloud provider are not supported, right? So it only supports a wide range of resources, right? Even in case of AWS or Azure or GCP, it does not support all the resources, but it will have some limitations, right? So that is why Terraform import is the recommended method, and this is what we're gonna use in this video. Okay, so let me just log into my AWS account and we can just start the demo. So I am logged in through my DevOps user, and what I'll do is I'll just create a sample EC2 instance with VPC, subnet, and so on, right? So let's go ahead and create VPC. There is one more use case of using Terraform import. Let's say, and this is in fact one of the interview question as well. Let's say accidentally you have deleted your Terraform state file, right? So you have lost the state of the infrastructure, right? Now, how would you manage the resources using Terraform? Okay, so you have to first import the resources. Only then you will be able to manage those resources using Terraform. Yes, I mean there are other answers to this question, like you can restore the TF state file from backup and so on. But if there is no backup available, if there is no if multiple there are no replicas available for that TF state file, or if it was stored locally and got corrupted or deleted, then the last resort is you use Terraform import to import all the resources into the Terraform state file, and then you start using it. Then you start managing your infrastructure using Terraform. Okay, so let's go ahead over here in the VPC, and if I create the VPC, then I will have to create multiple like route tables, and it will be a lot of things, right? So what instead I'll do, I'll just create an EC2 server, and then I'll create maybe security groups. Okay, so let's do that instead. EC2, Okay, and instances, launch instance, let's call this tf demo. Okay, I'm gonna use Ubuntu image, and this is just like I have to just test the import, so I'll just use the one that is supported by free tier. Oh, T2 nano, T2 micro, I guess it should be T2 micro. It doesn't say if it is eligible free tier, but anyways, so yeah, and then you can just select a key pair. Okay, I might not be logging in, so let's proceed without a key pair. Let's create a security group. Okay, so allow SSH from anywhere, allow HTTP and HTTPS. Let's create the security group as well. And and there is an option edit over here to provide more details. So there is this VPC that we are using. Subnet, I'm not giving any preference. And then it will auto assign public IP and it will create the security group. Let's give it a name, test tfsg. Okay, and SSH, HTTPS, HTTP. Okay, all right, and then let's go to advanced details. Okay, and let's add a tag as well for the name. Where are the tags for that, for the EC2 instance? Should be, let's see. Mm, uh, yeah, actually, yeah, they have the name over here, so that's fine. Let's hit on launch instance. Now, our instance will be ready shortly. Yeah, it's already running. It's a small instance, and like yeah, it is running. Now let's go to my VS Code. Okay, and I'm gonna just copy the folder of one of the previous days so that I don't have to write backend.tf and all other files. So this was day 23, day 24. Day 24 had what? Yeah, let's copy day 24. So copy day 24 to day 25. Okay, and let's cd into day 25 over here as well. We have day 25 now. Let's go inside code folder. Okay, I'm gonna delete some extra files, like we don't need these two, we don't need output.tf, don't need this. Let's hit delete. Okay, and we have main.tf, okay, which has provider details. Okay, and then we have security group. So let's just keep the security group for EC2, and we'll change the name. Okay, we'll make the name as same as the security group that we have created. Okay, so let's delete rest of the resources. Security group for EC2, and so it has 80. I don't need the description for now. So port 80, and then HTTPS, and then SSH. Oh, actually, yeah, let's delete rest of it. Okay, and I'm gonna add this ingress rule as part of the previous one. So yeah. Okay, I'll explain it to you what I'm doing right now. So let me just copy the details first. Okay, so currently this is the security group. Okay, and this security group will say that um, allow access on port 80 443. So there is one ingress for 80, one ingress for port 443, and I'm going to add one more ingress for SSH, right? Because this is what we have in the existing security group rule that we have. Okay, so now we'll just replicate the scenario over here. So let's go inside security group, and the one that we've created just now was, oops, where, here it is, test tf security group. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the same name over here. Okay, now VPC, we don't have the VPC, so VPC will get from the data source. Okay, so instead of this, subnet route, yeah, we could have used this one as well, but yeah, that would be a too long demo. So for now, and you might get confused with a lot of details, but what we'll do is, instead of that, we'll create a data source for VPC. Okay, so let's go to AWS Terraform provider. Okay, and search for AWS VPC. Let's put that in double quotes so that it will find the exact string. So what I need is the data source. So go over here in the data source section, and here it is. Okay, with that I'll get the VPC ID. Okay, so you can just put it over here, AWS VPC selected, and then ID will be var.vpc ID. Now if we go over here inside security group, so instead of this, so data.awsvpc.selected.id. Okay, from here we'll get the ID. Now security group, if you see over here in this security group, it says from where the connection is allowed, right? So if we go over here in the security group, we have these rules: HTTP, HTTPS, and source is this. So instead of security groups over here, we should have something called source, right? And source we can add as 0.0.0.0, right? It is throwing error, maybe it's not a valid field, so let's check what it should be. So I'm gonna search AWS security group rules, AWS security group, nope, not over here, security group rule, security group rule, no, AWS security group, this is what we have used. And inside that, so we have, which one we have used, we have used AWS security group, and inside that we have used ingress, right? So this is the security group, and inside that we have used ingress, which is like this. So for that, let's see the valid arguments inside the ingress block. AWS security group instance. Okay, let's go inside ingress, name, tags, VPC ID. Okay, over here, so we have from port, to port, protocol, and these are the optional. So we have security groups, which is what we had, we don't need that now. So what we have is CIDR block. I think this is the one that we need. So we have, yeah, I think this is it, from port to port protocol. Yeah, so CIDR blocks. and it says it's optional and it's a list of strings. So let's put that in double quotes. Okay, now I'm just gonna add this into the other two ingresses as well, which is over here. This one was a 443. So we have added that for port 80 443, and for this it's already there for SSH, right? What else do we need to do? We didn't have any tag for that, so let's just remove the tag. Okay, and now it is identical to what we have over there, right? What we have in our manual resource, the manual resource that we created. Now let's do one thing. Let's remove the extra files that we have, which is we don't have anything else, right? Yeah, we just have security group resource over here. Okay, so let's run tf init. Oops, I need to set the alias first, and now I can run tf init and run tf plan. We need to provide the VPC ID over here because in the variable we have not provided the details. So variable, so there is the variable VPC, and have we used it somewhere? Let's see. It says var.vpcid. No, it we have defined the variable over here, and then we are getting it from the data source, which is fine. Then there'll be a variable over here as well with VPC ID, so I need to remove that. VPC ID, is it? No, VPC ID is not there. But then it says the root module input variable is not set. Variable VPC ID. It should have taken the VPC ID from the data source, right? Let's go ahead and check the documentation again for the data source. VPC. The way they have used VPC ID over here is data.vpcid selected.cidr block, and over here as well you see id is equal to var.vpcid. Yeah, I think it's not able to find that VPC and it expecting us to provide the value of the variable. So let's try to add maybe some filter, or I don't want to add the ID because then there'll be no purpose of using the data source, right? So let's add this default equal to true. So that it can take the default VPC in that region. Okay. It has to be inside this file, no, data source file, which is vpc.tf. Default is equal to true. Okay, let's try this again. No, it's still asking the VPC ID. Okay, let's delete this file. Okay, yeah, it was able to, like, I just had to hit enter, and now it was able to find the VPC ID. But it says security group will be created. Okay, so even though the security group with the same name exists in the same region, it is still saying that security group will be created because we have not run the apply yet, right? uh, that error will come when we run the apply because it has not hit the post API yet. Okay, uh, it has not hit the post request of the cloud API yet. So let's verify everything, and name is test tfsg, which is the same over there, and it has tags, but the resource that we have, it doesn't have tags over there. So let's, I just want to make it identical so that we can replicate the issue. So let's just remove the tags as well. Where are the tags? Hmm, there are no tags over here. Why it is adding the tags? Oh, it is taking from the default tag. So let's just remove this. I don't want that. And let's make sure that it is the same region. So we can check the variable region, which is US East 1. And over here we have US East 1. Okay, this is fine now. Now let's go back again and let's try to hit the apply. First verify and then we'll just try to hit the apply to see what's gonna happen. So tf apply. Okay, it says when to add. Yes, you see, it says security group already exists for that VPC. Okay, now even though we have the Terraform file over here created, the same file, and we have the VPC already created. So if this was managed by Terraform, then the ideal error should be uh, no infrastructure changes needed, right? It's the desired state is equal to actual state, but this is not the case because the infrastructure is not yet managed by Terraform. So for that, what we need to do, we need to do one extra step. Okay, so for that we need to run the command terraform import, and the resource type, which is let's get the resource type over here, AWS security group dot the internal reference name, which is appsg, and let's put a help. I think we need to provide the resource id. So let's just try to add, and if we get any error we'll see. Okay, so let's just check the resource id, that means the security group id, which is over here, so that it knows which actual resource it has to import. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, so there is an error, maybe some syntax issue. So let's verify this. It says the command expect two arguments, terraform global option import, and then address id. Maybe it's the space. So yeah, let's, instead of dot, let's add the space over here. Yeah. Okay, it says reading this, import successful. Okay, prepared AWS security group for import and import successful. Now if we do terraform state list, it shows what all the resources are managed by Terraform. Now we have a data source for VPC, but the data source is managed. VPC is not managed because we did not create the VPC TF and we did not import it. We only imported AWS security group. Now you can do Terraform state show and this name. Okay, it will show you the details of that resource group as well. So security group from the infrastructure from the AWS portal. So it has a complete ARN ID as well, right? And it was created on this date and so on, right? Now, if I run TF plan one more time, what will happen? It's reading, refreshing, and now it says one plan to add. But now what it is doing, it is making changes to tags. Okay, because the tag is different over there and over here, and because there is an additional field, right, tags all, and then owner id it will change, id it will change, but why it is making the change? because description is different. Okay, right? So it is trying to recreate because we have added the description. We should not have the description, right? um and it says, yeah, so let's just remove few more details. We don't need the description, so let's just remove this. And what else? I mean, this comment would not matter still. Let's remove this description and let's check one more time. Still it is making some changes. Why? Now it says description of the um, description of the security group, right? It does not matches with what we have over here. So is this a mandatory field? I'm not sure. Let's see, and let's try again. It says the description will change from what we had over here to managed by Terraform. But then why it is recreating the resource? Ideally it should not make any changes to that, right? So I'm just wondering about that, why it is making that change. There is a field for tags as well. I did not have tags, I removed it, it's not here. And if I if I check it over here, no tags. Let me remove these variables as well. I only need region, so I'm gonna remove this. I don't need these variables. Desired max, stay back. Okay, yeah. Still it is making some changes. Still it is. Let's check this. What does it have? Doesn't have any tag. Okay, the description is this one. Maybe we have to add this description over there, or it's not a mandatory field, so ideally we shouldn't have. But let's just wait. What else do we have over here? Security group main.tf. Okay, security group. So we have security group, then data source, then one ingress, second ingress, third ingress, and one egress. So this is same. The only thing that is forcing the replacement of resource is, it says this forces replacement is the description. Some we might need to add the description. Let's see. Or it has to be, it says one to add, zero to change, one to destroy. That means it will destroy the resource and it will create the resource. This is not what we want. We want it to be able to import the resource and use that, right? And the resource is already imported. So let me just try to add this, the exact same description that is there in the resource over here in the security group. Description is equal to this. Sorry. Okay, yeah, that the change that we needed, right? So it has to be same. um So I just added the description over here, and now it says no changes. Your infrastructure matches the configuration. Your desired state is equal to actual state, and that means you have imported the resource successfully. Now you can manage that security group with Terraform. You want to see that? Let's check this out. So now if I add a tag, so it doesn't have a tag over here, right? So if I add a tag over here, let's say tags is equal to managed by Terraform. Okay, so if I just run tf plan again for vpc id, maybe I'm doing something wrong, that is why it is giving the var dot thing. Okay, now it says it will add this particular field which is tag. Okay, and it will not destroy the resource because tags is not a destructive operation updating the tag. That's why it will just change the tag. So if I run tf apply hyphen hyphen auto approve, okay, it made the changes. And let's go back over here and let's hit refresh. Where is the refresh button? Okay, let's refresh the page. If we don't have the button, that's okay. You see, now it added the tag managed by Terraform. Even though the resource was created by, like, it was created manually, but we have imported the state in the state file, and now the resource is managed by Terraform. Okay, the same will do for EC2. Okay, so that was security group. Let's create another block over here, or we can do that in main.tf. That's okay too. So AWS, sorry, not like resource, AWS EC2 instance. Okay, and let's just give it example. We'll just get the mandatory fields of EC2 instance over here. AWS EC2 instance or AWS instance. I think it's AWS instance. Yeah. Okay, so it should have an AMI. We can get it from the data source, or we'll just hard code the AMI of what is there over there in the resource. Okay, so let's just use this. Okay, AWS instance, and let's example is fine, and we can just get the AMI ID from there. So go to the instance and let's see AMI ID over here. Let's copy this, add it over here. Instance type is T2 micro. Okay, and do we have any tags? Yes, there is a tag. Name is tf demo. Okay, and what else? Do I need to add anything else? I don't think so. Oh yeah, we need to add the association of that instance with the VPC, right? So VPC security group IDs. So we have resource AMI instance type if added, then actually CIDR block or VPC ID that has to be inside subnet. We are not creating the subnet. Let's see. VPC security group IDs. Now this is let's see what that is actually. If you are creating instances in a VPC, use VPC security group IDs. Okay. List of security groups IDs to associate with. security group ID. Okay, so security group we have already created. So AWS security group dot, why it is not coming up, security group dot appsg dot, what was the name, appsg is there, dot id. I think this should do. So now we have updated. Oh, yeah, that should be okay. And then we have VPC. Then we have subnet ID. Subnet. Do we need to provide the subnet ID? Yeah. Let's provide the subnet ID. Subnet ID we don't have. Maybe we need to create the data source for subnet, from where we get the subnet ID, or we can hard code it, right? So you go over here. Let's check which subnet this instance is part of. Networking. That's the VPC ID. That's the subnet ID. So let's take the subnet ID from here. And now this instance will be associated with this subnet. Okay, or you can take it from data source. We already have the data source for VPC. From there you can filter it out, or you can create the same subnet data source. Let's remove this. I'm not sure about this field yet, so we'll see if it throws any error. Okay, yeah, so let's run Terraform import, and then AWS instance dot example and instance ID. Now instance ID would be this one. Let's see. Okay, it says import successful. Now if I run Terraform plan, okay, no changes to your infrastructure. So that means our EC2 instance is also imported. So if I do tf state list, now it is showing security group, instance, and data source. If we make any changes over here, now instead of over here, like this was just the tag. So if I just add another tag, call it managed by is equal to Terraform. Okay, and if I run tf, let's directly hit apply -- auto approve. Okay, it says applied. Let's go ahead over here, tags, and hit refresh. Let's go to tags. Now we have the tag managed by Terraform. So now these all resources are being managed by Terraform. So that is how import works. And now if I do Terraform destroy -- auto approve. Okay, so it will destroy the resources from Terraform that I created manually, right? So it's destroying. And if I hit refresh, oh, there was a refresh button over here. Okay, it's still destroying. So it will first destroy the security group and then the instance. Okay, it will be done. So you see what we have done so far. Even though it has some extra work as compared to Terraformer or AWS to TF, still it is the recommended way. If you are preparing for Terraform exam, yes, you will be asked for this, the Terraform import, not the other tools. And also, if you're working in an organization, this is one of the recommended approach to import the Terraform. Now you need to understand in what all situations or in what all cases we use Terraform import. Okay, these resources are destroyed. Hit refresh and just go to resources. You won't see anything running because it has been destroyed now, right? So you see tf demo, it has been terminated. Okay, so this is what we wanted to see, and we have destroyed the resource as well. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it valuable. I will see you tomorrow with the next video with day 26. I hope you have been following and you have been enjoying the series so far. So give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy learning.